Hey everybody, Adam, Sophie, Encite Live, back for another episode. Pretty excited about today's topic.
Yeah.
So it's we're going to be going through some things that are happening in the advertising and marketing world, but we're also going back to our other segments of our three tenets: branding, marketing, and creative. So we're going to touch a little bit on creative today on a new client that we have and we've been working with. So we're kind of developing some of the stuff for them, which is really exciting. But, So what's happening in the marketing world? You found something, something pretty exciting, I guess.
Yeah. So I found I believe the headline that I read was that fossil fuel advertisements were being banned in Amsterdam. And that's a little misleading. So I read a little bit more into it, and it's the metro station in Amsterdam. The city council has effectively banned anything that encourages the fossil fuel industry. So that's not, because when I first read
inside the subways. Okay.
Yeah. So when I first read the headline, I was like, who's advertising fossil fuels? Like it's not the same thing as like seeing an ad for McDonald's, right? Like you're not watching TV and
it's
seeing
not like
it.
buy gas.
Right.
Yeah.
But they're including flights, cars that are gas guzzlers, anything that's not environmentally kosher, essentially.
Wow.
And so there's like not a lot of like boundaries as to what that is yet. But they did say that an average of 4 million people go through this metro station every day. So I think that they're just trying to limit sort of the power that the fossil fuel industry does have on those consumers who are also commuters and going through that every single day. And maybe every day they're seeing something from, Shell or whoever it might be. And do we need that,
Yeah.
But also, again, like all things, where's the line? And is this the start of a trend? And what's next,
Yeah. So they say that like, car companies and...
I think like a Prius would be different than like,
Sure.
An SUV. So I think that they're taking into consideration like the eco-consciousness of the company that's wanting to advertise. So
it's a fine line here, right? Like
exactly.
it's definitely a fine line of like discriminating against a certain industry or a certain product.
Right.
It'd be interesting to see what happens from some of especially the big folks, right? Like,
yeah, I mean,
but it's just one advertising avenue. It's not
true.
Just,
it's very specific.
Right.
So
and it's all print ads, I'm guessing, right? Like
those classic like subway, large banner type things. And that's sort of why when I first saw the headline, I was like, what? Like, because it makes it seem like it's in all of Amsterdam too, but it is just on those commuter platforms. But I think that that's a huge portion of the population. I mean, we're not as blessed with the transportation system that Europe is.
Mm-hmm.
But if that was a part of my daily commute and I was seeing those advertisements every day, I do think that would impact my buying decisions. You know what I mean? And it's sort of the same thing as like, people are always talking about unhealthy, like soda companies and fast food and like how much is that factoring into issues like childhood obesity and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And my argument there is like, I feel like you can limit that stuff without people not like the people who are going to buy those things anyway are still going to buy it. So I don't think that this is necessarily handicapping the fossil fuel industry. I think this is just maybe like, how much of a voice do we want to give them? Yeah.
Well, yeah. And I think that marketers have to adapt, right?
Totally.
On some level, discriminating against a product or an industry is, I'm not a big fan of discrimination, but then it's at the same time, some of these things are particularly bad for the environment.
Totally.
And we know that, right? But it's just, somebody's got to take that first step.
Totally.
That kind of first step. But as marketers, we have to adapt all the time, right? So we have to change strategies, change tactics, and that's nothing new. So as new tools come into place, as new regulations come into place, as something happens. I mean, they banned smoking cigarette.
Right. That's a really great example. Yeah.
For years and years and years, and we all know that cigarettes are bad for you, right? Like we did it, but I think that's probably a good, cigarettes and tobacco. I mean, that's a good thing because we don't want people and kids to be exposed to that stuff.
But also, big tobacco is still very much alive and thriving, and I don't think that if you were to ask the CEO of Marlboro, like, how are your profits doing, I don't think he'd complain. You know? So I think that there is that, like, is it just maybe we're not putting this in front of people anymore, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that it's interesting that Amsterdam is the city to do it, because obviously I think they're a pretty progressive city, even in terms of European standards.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm very interested to see, like, does that translate to the US? Are we going to see like a, you know, San Francisco, New York, Portland type city embrace something like this?
Yeah.
Maybe Denver even.
Yeah.
I think Denver's on that list, you know?
That'd be interesting to see.
Yeah.
For sure. So
we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll keep you updated. But I do think that, you know, lately we've been talking a lot about like different restrictions in terms of advertising, and this is the next thing that I think people are going to run into a lot.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think we'll talk about it more.
Yeah, I'm
definitely.
sure. It's not the end of it, right?
So yeah, let's dive into some of that creative stuff.
So so our next one, Inside Creative.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of want to talk a little bit about some of the work that we've been doing for a brand new client. Our brand new client is called Fewer Regrets.
Very excited about it.
Yep, Fewer Regrets has a supplement that helps you process alcohol a little bit more efficiently. It's not a full-on hangover cure. It's not a 30 rack of Keystones. And
you're fine.
Yeah. But really who their target market is an older demographic who want to have a couple of glasses of wine with dinner, but don't have the time to feel kind of hungover the next day.
Yeah, less than 100%.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So they have an active lifestyle, they have kids, that kind of thing. So I think one of the example is my girlfriend.
Right.
She, that she has one glass of wine and doesn't feel very good in the morning. So I know we got a chance to give it a try. I thought it worked really well. I know my girlfriend thought it worked really well. But if you're hammering back 16 shots of tequila, there's nothing that's going to save it.
To be fair, you shouldn't be doing that anyway.
Fair enough. Right.
Yeah, that would be more regrets than one is wanting. But yeah, I think it's a super cool product, and it's also been like fun to work on, because I think it's maybe a little bit more. I think there's more to play with than some of our other clients.
Yeah.
You know, there's like more there to have fun with in terms of the actual creative process.
Yeah. Yep. So what we were working on is a revamp of their website.
Yes.
So kind of how we started off, and these are some of our preliminary concepts, but really we're trying to get the message out there of, make the right choice.
Right.
That using Fewer Regrets is the right choice, so you can kind of live that active lifestyle.
Yeah.
So what we did was we started off with a big bold image above the scroll, right? So as soon as somebody comes to the website, there is obviously some sort of alcohol drink and a product shot, because our primary goal is that people to buy it online and subscribe for it. They have a subscription option as well. So that's kind of where we started, is a lifestyle photo and something that's really attention getting, but it also has the packaging there, and it has an option for them to buy right away.
Right.
So we have a couple of different options. We are in process of working on their video shoot, which is coming up in the next couple of days.
Stuff.
So that's going to be implemented in here as well. But that was our first thought, is above the scroll, have them buy and have the opportunity to buy until they can scroll down. So the next time they scroll down from that initial page, you can look at the next slide, and we can kind of show you. Here we go. So here's the next one down, is starting to get to the next section, which is we work on a little bit more messaging. You can live life with fewer regrets. And it's got some information of what the product does, how it works. Again, another product shot, another opportunity to shop, but it's giving a little bit more information.
Right.
Because people aren't just going to buy without some of that feedback. Right?
Absolutely. And I think that it is, and especially in a product like this, it's like you really want them to know exactly what it does, because there is some confusion about, like, some of these similar products on the market, I think, make a lot of false claims about you're going to wake up and, like we were saying, pound back those tequila shots and everything's fine. It's like, well,
right.
Yeah. And I think getting into the specifics is very important.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it has, kind of ingredients and has some social proof. When we get into a next section, is we do kind of go into more social proof. So testimonials, third-party accreditation, some FAQs of kind of what common questions that people have. But we're still trying to walk through those sections, pretty linearly, if you will, So then we kind of have some options for them to buy. So at each stage of the scroll, there's still an option there that they can jump in and purchase the product straight away. So if they've gotten enough information, they're ready to jump, off they go. So then we have some interior pages, a little bit of about paging. The about page is an example here to where we have, another lifestyle photo. We're looking at, colorful drinks, and then we're talking a little bit about the owners or the founders of Fewer Regrets and how they started and why they started. So that's kind of important. And then we get into some of the partners. Right now, we've got some placeholder stuff of dogs. They're not really, the owners aren't really dogs.
That would be very impressive.
Yeah, that would be very impressive, right? So again, it's building up trust, credibility, it's giving a personal aspect to a business and a product. And then getting into some more FAQ, social proof stuff. And I think, as we go through this last page, we do another interior page here of the ingredients page, which is going to be it's super important.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
What exactly are people putting in their body? Why does it work? So there is a lot of scientific backing to this kind of stuff. So this is just kind of showing our process, our creative process, and why we do what we do. But it's following best practices from a consumer product website, but still being creative, still speaking to the audience, still showing some of that imagery that is memorable, eye-catching, cuts through the clutter.
And still, I think doing something that we mention a lot in terms of best practices is like, you are giving them an opportunity to buy on every page, but that's not the point of every page. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And I think that that's super important.
Yeah, it's walking them through that journey, right? So, they need to be introduced to the product. They need to know what it is, what it does, and what going there and what putting in their body in this particular case. And, providing all of those things that they need that have been shown that would make people buy.
Exactly.
The bottom line is we want them to buy the product. I know it works for me. And I know it works for you.
And
everybody in the group.
Guinea pigs.
Yeah, well, and they've done a really good job, I think.
I think it's an exciting product, and it's an exciting project to work on.
Yeah. So we're continuing to work with them, continuing to get the new website up, which should be up relatively quickly here. We're almost getting to the end point there, but we are working with them on some marketing and social media marketing and email marketing as well to kind of get it out there to market. But we're excited to launch it. Or relaunch it. They had some launch, but we're kind of relaunching it here. So keep an eye out on.
And hopefully we'll have a conversation maybe with one of the founders and get their insights a little bit from a behind the scenes perspective.
Yep, exactly. So hopefully we'll bring them on in the next show, but keep your eye out there on social media. If you guys are going out to have a drink or two, it's always good to pop in.
Fewer regrets is never a bad thing.
I don't know why you wouldn't want fewer regrets.
No.
I don't want more.
Who does?
Right, exactly.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. That's it for this week, I think. We will catch you next week with some more branding, marketing, and creative insider info. So talk to you then. Thanks, guys.
See you guys.
See ya.